Today we're starting kale and celery seeds, which may be an unfamiliar crop for your garden.
And later I'm going to talk about what blood meal and bone meal are and how they can benefit your garden. All that coming up today on the
Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
Celery, huh?
Yeah.
We encourage you to try everything you see on the program.
Grow your own, know where your food comes from, and know what's in it.
The Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener is sponsored in part by
For all your non-GMO, organic, and heirloom vegetable, flowers, and herb seeds, visit dollarseed.com. Organic fertilizer for the health-conscious organic home gardener. Family owned and operated, visit thewiveggardeners.com. Sioux Greenhouse and Landscape Supply, located in Wausau, Wisconsin, focusing on certified leaf compost, an excellent amendment for poor soil, retains moisture and adds nutrients, which equals less watering. Available in labor saver pre-filled trays and pots, bag and bulk. Visit SiouxCompost.com. Don't poison your garden with municipal water. Attach a Body, Mind, and Soil water filter to keep your garden healthy. Visit bodymindandsoil.com. No measuring, no thinking. Stamp it, plant it, stop plotting, start planting. Gardenstamp.com. Authentic Haven brand soil conditioner for the home gardener. Easy to brew. Visit manuretea.com.
Welcome to the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener. I'm Joy Baird.
And I'm Holly Baird.
And today we're going to plant some celery and
also some kale.
Some kale. Now, with the celery and the kale, maybe some things that you're not familiar with planting in your garden.
Right, kale is a green leafy vegetable. It's actually in the cabbage family, and it has a high density of actually some really great nutrients and vitamins, and it's very cold tolerant, so it's something that you can grow in cold or warm climates.
And you can use it for a lot of different things. You use it for smoothies.
Right, I put it in my smoothies. You can make like kale chips, add it to salads. You could even use it in like soups and stews, so there's just a lot of different things. Kind of like if you were going to use spinach, you could use kale for as well.
Also, we're going to plant some celery. Now, this to you may look like parsley, but it's really celery that we've got in one of our soda bottle self-watering containers that we have on the windowsill in the kitchen. This has been growing for about 1.5 years now, and by growing your own celery, it is a much more vibrant taste than the kind that you would get at the store. And it takes between 100 and 110 days to reach maturity, and it actually is sweeter, like most vegetables, after a frost. So we're going to plant some of that. The seeds are extremely tiny with the celery seeds. So with each cup, we've got between 10 and 20 seeds per container. So, and then once they get larger, we'll thin them out and put them in their own distinct growing location.
And also, celery is one of the highest vegetables that, if you buy it traditionally or conventionally, has the highest amount of pesticides in it. So if you grow organically, you help avoid consuming those pesticides.
We're also growing, like Holly said, kale. Now these seeds are a little bit larger and easier to manage. So each of the 6 containers we have approximately 10 seeds. So we're planting a tremendous amount more than what we know we're going to need. But it's beneficial to have more than what you need than not have enough.
Especially when you get into the garden, rabbits seem to love to just chop the tops off of the kale that's been established. So if you have extra and you lose one, then you have extra.
All right, let's talk about some of the methods here that we're going to go be planting in.
Right, so we're going to plant in these cups. These are 9-ounce plastic cups, and we prefer to use these as opposed to like a paper cup with a wax lining. They seem to do well, and the seedlings seem to do well in these cups. Or you could do like the 16-ounce red solo cup. Instead of parting with it, you could plant your seeds in it.
Now these all look clean and they're not brand new. These are about 2 to 3 years old. We have made a strong effort this year to clean and sterilize everything that we're planting in with an antibacterial soap, so we don't carry any diseases that may have been in these cups from years past. So we're taking a step towards planting. You don't necessarily have to do it, but we feel that is a need that will greatly enhance the germination process, the health of the seedlings, as well as the health of the plants in the garden.
And some of these we've had to put a couple of cups together because of cracks along the top, and instead of just throwing them away or recycling them, we just put them together, tape them together, and now we can get more use out of them.
Let's talk about the material that we're going to plant our celery and kale seeds in.
We're going to plant in leaf compost from Sue Compost Company.
As you know, leaf compost has a high level of beneficial chemicals, good chemicals, from the leaves. When they fall, they break down, and they're just some of the best soil that you can potentially put in your garden. So we're going to start them in the compost. Now you see this tray here. Let's talk about this tray.
Yeah, these trays, we actually found them along the side of the road, but you can get them sometimes from your local home and garden center, your nursery, and they hold the cups really well. As you can see, they don't spill or fall over or anything like that. But also what you could use is you could use cupcake tins, and these do the same purpose. You don't want to put the soil directly in here. You want to put the cups in there, and they hold them really well as well. And you can get these, at a rummage sale, or maybe your wife's cabinets, whatever, sneak them out.
So let's get ahead and start planting. Let's start planting some celery first. Now, with all the seeds here that we've started, we've been soaking them in manure tea from manuretea.com for about 24 hours now to hydrate them so they have the best germination possibility. And the benefits with manure tea is when you brew it, you don't have to use air stones. You simply 1 to 5 gallons for 1 to 3 days brew it, and then you can soak your seeds in it. Why is it so beneficial to the seeds and your garden plants?
Well, it comes from cows that are fed organically. They don't have any antibiotics fed to them. They don't have any hormones added to them. So it's a pure, natural manure tea.
And they don't eat any GMO crops either.
Right, they don't eat any GMO crops.
So let's get planting. So what we're going to do here is we've got a couple of containers here of soil already. Let's go with the celery seeds that we're going to plant. Now, these are extremely tiny, as we've spoke about. So the best way to get the seeds off the bottom is just take the cup, swirl it around, and then quickly pour it into the container, and the cup is empty. Now what we're going to do is, because these seeds are so tiny, when you're planting tiny seeds like this, you want just a dusting of soil on top of those seeds, because you don't want to bury them. They won't germinate. They'll die. So we'll just take a little compost here and just gently sprinkle on top of the celery. Now, you want to be aware that the celery is going to take about 14 to 21 days to germinate. Now, what we have seen from other gardeners, as well as experience from ourselves, when we use them in our tea, that drastically cuts that germination time in half, if not a little bit more.
Right.
So that's something you want to keep in mind if you want your seeds to germinate quickly and healthy. That manure tea is a great way to go.
Right. So we have those set there.
And you always want to hold, if you'll hold that, we've notated on a piece of masking tape on each one of our cups the variety and approximately how many seeds that we've started. With the celery, we've got 10 to 20 seeds because they're very tiny and hard to count. And we're just going to label them so we know in about, we're projecting 10 to 14 days we'll start seeing seedlings, so we kind of know how many are expected to grow. And the kale here is the same procedure. They're a little bit larger, but we will take and we just swirl the kale around in the moo poo tea and just pour it out. And with the kale, we can cover them up just a little bit more. There's one that got stuck. A little bit more. And if you'll give me a little soil, and we'll cover these up. And then we can just sprinkle a little soil on the kale. Tap it down. Get a label on. Where's our label? There's our label. And then again, we've got 10. This kale, we have 12 seeds, not 10 in them.
And like I said, kale is a cold-tolerant vegetable. So you can actually put your seedlings outdoors once they're established about 3 to 5 weeks before your last frost dates. And then it takes between 60 and 90 days for it to reach its full maturity. But you can even leave it in the ground after that if you want. Once it's like I said, it's cold tolerant, so once the frost comes, it actually becomes sweeter.
Right, and with the celery will grow up to 3 foot tall, and it gets a little sweeter after that first frost, and it'll grow throughout the year. And celery, as well as kale, are biannual plants. That means if you leave them in the ground this year and wait until next spring, they will put seed pods on. You can save seeds that way. And the celery variety we're using is Celery Tall Utah. It's an heirloom variety. And the kale we're using is
a Blue Vates Scotch curled, so it's a curly kale.
So both great varieties. So we're going to get the rest of these planted and get them set up in our grow room. Alright, that concludes the planting of the celery and the kale. We've got about 40 to 80 celery plants and about how many kale plants we got?
About 72 kale.
And not necessarily we're going to plant all those, but we want to have more than we need for the gardens that we're going to plant in. Now again, you always want to notarize what you've got planted in your cup, because when a lot of these seeds germinate that we're planting, they all look the same until they reach maturity. So you can use masking tape, or a great way you can also use is clothespins. Now this is a clothespin for those who are not familiar with what it is. It clips onto a clothesline. Anyway, so
we're going to get these into the growing house here, the growing rack, and when they start to germinate, we'll go ahead and turn our lights on.
So it's pretty easy to go and get your celery planted and your kale planted. We're a little early on the kale, but we're excited to get that going so we can start benefiting it in use in our garden. Now you may be online or at the Home and Garden Center and you see blood meal and bone meal and you're wondering what that is really all about. Well, let's talk about bone meal to begin with. Bone meal is actually derived from crushed or steamed animal bones. Now, whether you believe that that should be something that you want to put in your garden, and whether you're a vegetarian or a vegan, that's up to you. Now, it is an organic product and it has a high level, or it is a phosphorus supplement. So what that means is it's very good for root development. As the numbers reside here, 690, it's got a high level of phosphorus for, let's say, onions. Now, it is a slow release fertilizer. What that means, 6 to 8 weeks at minimum for it to release in the soil. So if you're going to plant radishes or a very quick growing vegetable, this won't have time to break down and actually benefit that product. This will be used one time in your garden per year. Now, if you're going to use this, I would recommend as soon as the garden can be worked in the spring, go out there, figure out where you're going to plant your tomatoes or your onions or your peppers, and go ahead and put the recommended application rate that's on the back of the bag in that area so it can begin to break down so the plant can pick it up even faster. Now, let's talk about blood meal. Blood meal, again, is derived from dried blood from animals. Your decision whether or not you want to apply that to your garden. It is an all-organic material. It's a nitrogen supplement, and it's, again, a slow release. It won't activate as quickly as a synthetic fertilizer, which we oppose here at the gardens. It can it has a high level of nitrogen, as it's a 1200 on the package bag, which will help for leaf development and make the plants greener. So that's another perfect supplement for your garden. That's an organic type of fertilizer, and with the combination of bone meal and blood meal, they can both benefit your garden very much this growing season. I'm Joy Baird. Thanks for watching. Join us again for more organic gardening and food preserving. This has been the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener.
For more information, please visit thewwisconsinvegetablegardener.com.